Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. The lights of Genoa City shimmered through the tall windows of Billy Abbott's apartment, but inside the room the atmosphere felt heavy and tense. Sally Spectra stood near the kitchen counter, staring at the faint smear of ink on her hand. The small mark seemed insignificant, yet to her it symbolized something much larger, another risk, another leap of faith she wasn't sure she should take. Her mind replayed the conversation she had just had with Billy, the uncertainty in her voice, the way she had admitted she was scared of getting hurt again. Billy had promised things would be different this time. He had looked sincere, but Sally had learned the hard way that sincerity didn't always guarantee safety. The door suddenly opened without warning. Audra Charles stepped inside with her usual confident stride, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor like a sharp reminder that reality had returned. Well, Audra said, scanning the room with raised eyebrows, looks like I interrupted something. Sally quickly wiped her hand against a napkin and forced a smile. You're not interrupting anything. Audra's eyes drifted toward Billy, who stood across the room, clearly uncomfortable. Then realization dawned. Oh my God, Audra said slowly, you two are back together. Billy sighed. Audra. No, she cut him off sharply, don't even start. She turned toward Sally, her expression shifting from sarcasm to concern. You're making a huge mistake. Sally folded her arms. You're only saying that because you don't trust Billy. Audra shook her head. I'm saying it because I care about you. The room fell silent for a moment. Audra continued more softly. You've forgotten what he did to you, the lies, the manipulation, the way he pulled you into his chaos. Sally's voice was calm but firm. If Nate had hurt you, would you run away forever, or would you hope he'd change? Audra hesitated. Oh, that's different. Is it? Sally asked. Audra glanced briefly at Billy before returning her attention to Sally. You're following your heart again, that's brave, but brave doesn't always mean smart. Sally's expression softened. My heart is telling me this isn't over, she said quietly. Audra studied her friend carefully, then to Sally's surprise, her voice softened. I wish someone looked at me the way Billy looks at you. Sally smiled faintly. It will happen. Audra shook her head with a small laugh. You're putting everything on the lines. Maybe, Sally admitted, but I've spent too long protecting myself from everything. Audra crossed her arms again. Well, just remember something, she said, pointing toward Billy. If he hurts you again, he'll answer to me. Billy raised his hands defensively. Duly noted. Across town, the mood at the Newman ranch was far darker. Billy Abbott stood face to face with Victor Newman in the grand living room, the tension between them thick enough to cut with a knife. Victor stood near the fireplace, calm and composed, while Billy paced like a caged animal. This is insane, Billy snapped. Victor's voice remained cool. Your brother's life is at stake. Billy stopped packing and stared at him. You're bluffing. Victor's eyes hardened. I never bluff when family is involved. Billy scoffed. You've pulled plenty of dirty tricks before. Victor stepped closer. Believe what you want, but if you fail to return Chancellor, Jack Abbott will pay the price. Billy's jaw tightened. This is madness. Victor glanced at the clock. You have until the end of the day. Billy stared at him for a long moment before turning and storming out of the ranch. The front door slammed. A few seconds later, Adam Newman stepped into the room from the hallway. His expression was troubled. You actually did it, Adam said. Victor turned slowly toward his son. You sound surprised. You kidnapped Jack Abbott, Adam replied. Victor shrugged slightly. Desperate times require decisive action. Adam rubbed his forehead. I thought you were bluffing. Victor's voice grew cold. I will do anything to get my company back. Adam looked deeply disturbed. You're going to destroy people. Victor leaned forward slightly. That is the price of betrayal. Adam shook his head. I don't want to hurt anyone's. Victor's patience snapped. You don't get to choose that anymore. The room echoed with his booming voice. Adam stared at him. Where is Jack? Victor said nothing. Across town at Crimson Lights, The cozy coffee shop felt warm and inviting compared to the chaos unfolding elsewhere. Claire Newman sat across from Victoria, nervously stirring her coffee. Victoria watched her daughter carefully. "You've been quiet all morning," she said. Claire exhaled slowly. "I need to tell you something." Victoria leaned forward. "Go ahead." Claire hesitated before speaking. "I went to Los Angeles." Victoria blinked. You what?" Claire nodded. "I went there to dig up dirt on someone's." Victoria's expression grew serious. Who?" Claire swallowed. "Audra." Victoria studied her carefully. "Why?" Claire looked ashamed. "I wanted to hurt her." Victoria didn't react immediately. Claire continued. "I was obsessed with finding out what happened between her and Holden." Victoria sighed. "You wanted revenge." Claire nodded. "I thought if I exposed her secret, it would destroy her." Victoria reached across the table. "You're not like Jordan." Claire looked up quickly. "But I felt like her." Victoria squeezed her hand gently. "Thinking angry thoughts doesn't make you a bad person." Claire looked relieved but still troubled. "I stopped myself before I crossed the line." Victoria smiled faintly. "That's the difference." Claire leaned back in her chair. "I'm lucky to have you." Victoria's eyes softened. "And Holden?" she asked. Claire shook her head. "And it's over." "What happened?" "He's been lying to me." Victoria frowned. "What kind of lies?" Claire shrugged. "I don't know exactly what happened between him and Audra, but something bad did." Victoria nodded slowly. "And Kyle?" Claire looked slightly embarrassed. "We've been spending time together." Victoria smiled knowingly. Claire quickly added, "But I'm not jumping into another relationship." Victoria chuckled. "You're trying to stay independent." Claire nodded. "I don't want to bounce back and forth between men's." Victoria leaned back. "Just let things happen naturally." Claire smiled slightly. Then her expression shifted. "What is Grandpa planning?" Victoria sighed. "He won't tell anyone." Claire smirked. "You hate not being in control." Victoria laughed. Maybe." Meanwhile, chaos erupted at the Abbott mansions. Billy burst through the front door like a man on the verge of panic. Kyle Abbott looked up from the living rooms. "Whoa, what's wrong?" Billy grabbed his shoulders. "Where, Jack?" Kyle frowned. "He went to Chicago for Jabot business." Billy's face drained of color. "When?" "Earlier today." Billy started packing frantically. Then Diane entered the rooms. "What's going on?" Billy turned toward them. "Victor kidnapped Jack." The words hit the room like a bomb. Diane froze. What?" Billy nodded grimly. "He's using Jack as leverage." Kyle's eyes widened. That's insane." Diane immediately pulled out her phones. She called Jack. No answer. Her voice trembled as she left a message. "Jack, call me back immediately." Billy ran a hand through his hair. "Victor already has Lily and the twins." Diane's panic grew. "This can't be real." Billy looked exhausted. It is." Diane grabbed her purse. "I'm going to the ranch." Kyle stood up instantly. "I'm coming with you." Billy watched them leave. He knew things were about to get much worse. Back at the Newman ranch, tension filled the air like a storm ready to explode. Adam Newman stood near the entrance as the door burst open. Diane Abbott stormed inside, Kyle close behind her. Adam stepped aside cautiously. Victor stood near the center of the room, completely calm. Diane marched toward him. "Where is my husband?" Victor's lips curved into a faint smirk. "He's fine for now." Kyle's fists clenched. You kidnapped him." Victor didn't deny it. Diane's voice rose with fury. Jack has nothing to do with Billy taking Chancellor. Victor's eyes flashed. Billy has the power to end this. Kyle stepped forward. You're insane. Victor turned toward him slowly. Your uncle knows what to do. Diane shook with anger. You brought this on yourself. Victor slammed his cane against the floor. Billy can bring Jack home, tell him to do it. Kyle grabbed Diane's arm gently. They both realized Victor wouldn't say anything more. Back at Billy's apartment, the mood was equally tense. Billy entered the living room and closed the door behind him. Sally, we need to talk. Audra immediately stood up. I'll give you two privacy. She left quickly. Billy sat down heavily. Sally could see the fear in his eyes. What happened? Billy took a deep breath. Victor kidnapped Jack. Sally's face turned pale. That's impossible. Billy shook his head. He threatened me directly. Sally thought quickly. Can you give him what he wants? Billy sighed. Even if I wanted to, I can't. Why? Billy still controls Chancellor. Sally frowned. So Victor is blackmailing you over something you don't even have. Exactly. She paced the room. So what are you going to do? Billy stared at the floor. I need proof Jack is alive. Sally nodded slowly. Victor hates your brother. Billy's voice was grim. Underestimating him would be a huge mistake. Across town at Crimson Lights, Victoria and Claire continued their conversation. Claire teased her mother. You want to take matters into your own hands. Victoria smirked. Maybe I do. Claire leaned forward. Then do it. Victoria raised an eyebrow. You think I should? Claire nodded. You always trust your instincts. Victoria smiled thoughtfully. Meanwhile, at the Abbott mansion, panic continued to grow. Diane paced the living room endlessly. Kyle tried to stay calm, but the fear in his eyes was obvious. Jack has to be okay, he said. Diane's voice shook. He didn't answer his phone. Kyle clenched his fists. Victor wouldn't actually hurt him. Diane whispered desperately. Where are you? Far away from Genoa City, Jack Abbott slowly opened his eyes. His head throbbed painfully. The room around him was dimly lit and lined with dark wooden panels. He sat up slowly on the narrow bed. What the hell? His memory was foggy. The last thing he remembered was leaving Chicago. Then nothing. Jack stood and walked toward the door. He tried the handle. Locked. He frowned. Hello. No response. A strange rocking sensation caught his attention. Jack froze. The floor beneath him shifted gently. His eyes widened. He walked to the small window on the walls. Outside was nothing but endless water. Dark waves stretched to the horizon in every direction. Jack's heart began to pound. Oh my God. He wasn't in a building. He was on a boat. And he was completely trapped.